Hello, I am Faeq Alrimawi, a postdoctoral researcher at LIRO, the Science Foundation Ireland Research Centre for Software, and today my collaborator Bashar Nusayba and I have the pleasure to talk to you about a new idea which we call kind computing. So I'm going to start by giving you the main message of this idea and then unpack it in the rest of my 15-minute presentation. The main message that we want to deliver via this presentation and our paper is to invite the software engineering community to join us in rethinking and extending parts of our discipline in order to enable the incorporation of kindness into digital technology development and use for improved well-being and a kinder world. And to expound this idea, I'll talk first about the status of kindness in the world, namely what it is and why we should care about it, and then its status in digital technology and computing, after which I'll introduce kind computing, what it is, its aim, and potential application domains. And finally, I'll explain briefly the role of the software engineering community in enabling kind computing, highlighting challenges, and sketching a research agenda. To have an idea about kindness in the world, I'll talk about three aspects of it: what it means, the benefits that are associated with it, and what drives it. Or, in other words, what are the psychological and social factors influencing people's kind behavior. Researchers have also investigated other aspects of kindness, such as how did it evolve, i.e., its origins. While those are indeed interesting aspects of it, they are distant from our current concern and focus, which is to provide a basic understanding of it and why we should care about it. As a researcher and also as a curious human, the first question that comes to one's mind is, what is kindness anyway? There are many ways by which kindness has been defined. Just to give a few examples from the literature, it has been defined as a pro-social activity driven by compassion or concern, a behavior costly to the self that benefits others, a voluntary act that benefits others and is not motivated by external rewards or punishments, or as a set of social norms and rules of how people are expected to behave within society. We can find many commonalities among these definitions, such as behavior, benefit others, and self motivated. So, based on these definitions and others, we came up with a working definition, which is the following: kindness is a pro social behavior motivated by the desire to benefit others. This behavior is manifested in the world as acts of kindness, and there are increasing resources that provide examples of them, such as the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation and kindness.org. We are also well acquainted with such acts. We give and receive them every day. You are actually doing one right now by listening to this talk. The second interesting aspect is the benefits of being kind. Simply speaking, the biggest benefit is that it can increase happiness and enhance well being of both givers and receivers of kindness. This is evident by personal experience that each one of us has. That warm feeling we get when we do, think, or even observe acts of kindness. And researchers have been investigating this warm feeling to try to explain, unpack, and refine. And they found that kindness can increase happiness and well being by a small to moderate amount, which still can make a difference in one's day and life. They also found it has effects on various parts of our lives. Just to name a few, it can increase trust among people, as well as gratitude and resilience of individuals. And it can also reduce negative effects, such as sadness, and reduce anxiety and stress. The third important aspect of kindness is its driving factors, which can be psychological or social. Psychological, such as emotionality, like happiness, motivation, namely an act of kindness should be autonomous and focused on benefiting others, and character traits that are associated with kindness. The literature shows that agreeableness and openness are two main traits that are directly associated with being kind. And social factors include need, which refers to the level of need the receiver requires, for example, emotional need, lending an ear, or instrumental need, picking up a dropped item. Second factor would be reciprocity, returning someone's kindness with kindness. And finally, relatedness, how close the giver and receiver of kindness. For example, they are family, friends, or complete strangers. Before moving on, I would like to mention that there is a World Kindness Day, which is November 13. Now, looking at the status of kindness in digital technology and computing, we can draw two key points. First is that digital technology has enabled kindness and unkindness. This can be reflected in the way humans communicate and treat each other using interactions facilitated by digital technology, such as posting positive comments on social media or donating to charities online. These very same technologies have also been used to allow people to be unkind to each other, such as cyberbullying. The second point is that computing is largely silent about kindness. The different forms of technology mediated interactions are mostly neutral. They neither encourage kindness nor discourage unkindness. One reason for this is the lack of explicit consideration of kindness during the development and use of digital technology. So, comparing both side by side, kindness in the world and in computing, we discover a gap between a world in which humans have a natural tendency to be kind to each other, and that is also an empirical reality where we can find evidences for it everywhere, and on the other hand, technology that is largely silent about it. To address this gap, we propose kind computing, a new paradigm to incorporate kindness explicitly into the development and use of digital technologies in order to increase opportunities for expressions of kindness above and beyond what current technologies offer, transforming them from passive enablers to active boosters. As a new paradigm, it would be worth expanding a bit more about the aim of paradigms in general and explain how kind computing differs from others. A computing paradigm simply is a new way of doing computing, of analyzing, designing, and implementing solutions in order to change and extend the ways in which digital technology is developed and used. In other words, they seek to rethink and extend techniques in order to address a gap between the world and technology. A computing paradigm is usually proposed on top of a core metaphor or concept. For example, ubiquitous computing has been proposed on top of the psychological concept of disappearance. That is, whenever people learn something sufficiently well, they cease to be aware of it. Thus, ubiquitous computing is proposed to create technology that disappears. Similarly, affective computing is introduced on top of the concept emotions, and it aims to create technology that can recognize and react to them and to some extent feel. While positive computing has been proposed with the aim of designing experiences that support well being factors such as self awareness, autonomy, and mindfulness. So, how is kind computing different from existing ones? First, I'll say how it is similar to other computing paradigms like positive computing and affective computing. And that the similarity is that it shares with them the overarching aim of fostering well being. However, it differs in that it considers kindness explicitly as a way to achieve this aim, which other paradigms do not. For example, affective computing focuses on emotions, which is only one factor among the many psychological dimensions of kindness. Positive computing also focuses on particular factors of the psychological dimension, such as autonomy. However, it neglects others along the social dimension, since its focus is on the individual, whereas kindness focuses on the individual, i.e., self kindness, and the other, i.e., kindness towards other people. Applications of kind computing can be envisioned in many domains where digital technology is already mediating or can mediate humans' interactions. And to give a couple of examples, social software, from emails to social media apps that supports group interaction is one such broad class of applications. More specialist application domains can also benefit from kind computing. For example, in healthcare, the doctor patient relationship, which is recognized to have many barriers, can be enhanced via kind computing to support more empathetic interactions. We envisage software engineering as a discipline that can play a prominent role in delivering digital technology that promotes kindness among its users. Software engineering has a venerable history of creating techniques to represent and reason about qualities of software, such as security and privacy. And here we suggest that such accumulated knowledge can provide a useful starting point to create new approaches for integrating kindness into software. Since kindness is a psychosocial phenomenon, an approach to integrating it into software will need to explicitly recognize and represent psychological and social dimensions, such as emotionality and relatedness. However, it is recognized that software engineering techniques do not explicitly consider these dimensions, as their main focus instead is on delivering digital and physical behaviors of software in the world. Thus, their integration raises two key challenges. The first is the lack of techniques to engineer kindness. Currently, there exist no formalisms nor tools that can support the explicit representation and analysis of kindness concerns in software, and it can be hard to develop such formalisms and tools. This can be due to the elusive nature of kindness, which can be understood as an abstract concept and as a concrete one. This reminds me of the quote, simple things are always the most difficult. The second challenge is the lack of empirical approaches to assess kindness. It can be difficult to provide answers to questions such as, is my software kind enough? Is this software system boosting its users' kindness? The overarching empirical challenge here is not only in selecting a suitable set of empirical methods, but also in rethinking existing methods in light of the engineering challenges of kind computing. Based on these challenges, we suggest a research agenda for the software engineering community to consider. We summarize these under two headings: engineering kindness and empirical assessment. Engineering kindness aims to develop software engineering techniques that support systematic representation, reasoning, and automation of kindness in software. Representation requires new ways to capture elements and relationships characterizing kindness. And to this end, a practical understanding of kindness and its interrelated psychosocial dimensions is essential. Reasoning requires new capabilities to analyze the nature and consequences of human actions and emotions affected by software. The development of the field of affective computing from a software engineering perspective can contribute to this agenda. Automation requires the development of tools to support the representation and reasoning about kindness in software. This involves developing scalable repositories that organize and manage acts of kindness, as well as tools such as plugins and IDEs to suggest suitable acts of kindness to include into models and code. And the second agenda heading, empirical assessment, aims to select or develop empirical methods to discover kindness requirements and to evaluate kindness in software and assess its implications on other software properties. And this, similar to engineering kindness agenda, can be split into three directions. First, empirical discovery, which requires approaches to elicit kind computing requirements by exploring and applying various empirical methods. Second, evaluating kindness, which requires techniques and metrics to assess the impact of kind computing technology on the kindness and well-being of individuals and groups. And finally, implications for engineering, which requires approaches to analyze and extract insight from empirical discoveries and evaluations of kindness, which can feed back into and inform the engineering kindness agenda. I began this presentation with the main message, and I want to summarize and conclude with it. We proposed kind computing a new paradigm for incorporating kindness into the development and use of digital technology. And we invite the software engineering community to join us in rethinking and extending parts of our discipline in order to enable it and shape future technology for improved well-being and a kinder world. Thank you for listening to this talk. If you want to know more about kind computing, please do check our paper and contact us. References used in this presentation are shown next. Thank you and have a good day.